This is the World Satsanga on the 12th of July 2014. So everybody's on board here, so we can start to talk about it now. Now it's interesting that this particular Satsanga is going to talk about karma. So I'm going to ask you a few questions to see what your understanding of karma is first. But I've got a rather long email from Ulla asking questions on karma, so that's going to be actually part of it as well, which is good. And actually, these questions, I've read them, but I've not actually got an answer for them yet, because I'm going to let the source come through it first to understand what these questions are. So some of these questions on karma need to be answered spontaneously rather than being predetermined, because they really are quite good questions, which is excellent. Okay, but okay. So to kick off, then we've got RJ first, who's a new person to our list. RJ, do you want to just quickly explain to the group a little bit about your spiritual past and how you got to where you are now spiritually?
Sure. Yeah. Ever since I was very little, I felt a deep connection to, I guess, the greater reality, certainly outside the physical reality. When I was a kid, I told my mother how I would pass away in this lifetime, how old I would be, my planned demise, all that kind of stuff. So I've always felt really connected to outside of physical reality, but maybe even lost track of that for a little while. Got busy with jobs and making money and trying to make a name for myself career-wise, but it was always there, always seeming to show itself, and I was always connected to it. And I would say in the last 6 or 7 years, it's become impossible to ignore it. And I've read as many books as I possibly can. I've been an avid meditator for a long time, and it was actually being at the bookstore a few years ago. And what I always do, I go to the bookstore and I just go to the spiritual section and I just stand there and I just let the books call me. And I was immediately drawn to The History of God by Guy Needler. And I think shortly after reading that, and then the second book, the first Beyond the Source book came out, and I think I started emailing Guy, I think is what happened. And we started striking up a conversation. Guy gave a reading for me, and he's really helped me with his traversing the frequencies. I've taken level 1 and 2, and it's helping me stay balanced in terms of making sure I meditate on a daily basis, which is really important. And Guy came here, and we held a workshop here. It was fantastic. And I just feel so much more centered. I feel so much more like a better person when I'm meditating every day. And it's once you're traveling down that path, it's nothing that you can turn your back on. And I'm just really eager to keep going, and having Guy and people like Guy that I can talk to, and we share ideas and thoughts. There's really nothing better, and for me, there's really nothing more important.
Thank you. Thank you, RJ. I mean, people's spiritual paths don't specifically follow the same routes, but at the end of the day, we all get to sort of say God at the end of the day, in whichever way we go into. Some follow some follow the religious route. Others follow what I classify as being the more universal route, I would say, where religion isn't involved, although you can refer to it if you like, but still it gets you there without the trappings of various different things that can distract you in that way. Okay. Well, what I want to do today is just talk about karma, and I presented the karma lecture in a number of different workshop places in the US and the UK recently, and it's gone down very well. We had a really great time at the Transformation Conference when I was asking people questions and finding out what they knew about karma, and I think everybody enjoyed themselves in the lectures. We did have a good time, actually, and people started to realise that karma is more insidious and more convoluted than we thought it was. But most of us think that karma is the age-old comment about cause and effect. And that particular piece of cause and effect, simplistically, is that whatever we do to somebody else, we need to have done to us to cancel out that karmic link between us and them, or just the karmic link with the need to experience something that we've given to somebody else, for instance. As an example, if, for instance, we stole somebody's sweets when we were young, we need to have our sweets stole as well, so we can experience the same sort of feeling about having our sweets stolen, and various other variations upon that. But it's much more than that. Although cause and effect is a good description for it, it's very high level and doesn't show the detail behind it. And so it's important to note that karma really is a very, very insidious thing. It is with us every day. Everything we do, we have the potential to create karma. Whether it's to do with how we respond to others, how we act with others, how we relate to others, how we communicate with others, or how we think about others, how we think about ourselves, how we think about things around us, how we work in that respect. Everything that we do can potentially create karma. And the classic one is the materialism, where we feel the need to have certain things, we feel the need to have certain belongings, or houses in the right part of town or in the right country, a certain type of car, because the brand on the car is more important to us, for instance, than the actual usefulness of the vehicle being a transportation medium for us. And things like, sometimes we have two of these things when we actually need one, because one does one thing and another one does something else. For instance, having a car that is a sports car and then a car that does everything else. I mean, really, we have to work out which is the car we use the most and which is the car that is going to be useful to us the most. And then we find out that actually the sports car we've got in the garage sits in the garage for let's say 11 months of the year and doesn't get used, but it provides a method of boosting our ego. And this is something we have to think about, is that really karma is about how we relate to the physicality of what we are. During the presentations, I presented 5 different genres of karma and some of the subcomponents within that. And those subcomponents are all part and parcel of the Avoiding Karma book. But really, it's difficult for us to understand what karma is unless we can stop and analyse within ourselves what we're doing and how we're doing it, and how we affect others, and how others affect us. And so, from that perspective, it's really difficult for us to get to the point where we really do understand karma and can automatically, on a day-by-day basis, avoid karma in some way, shape or form. Because no matter what we do, whether it's to do with communication, whether it's how we feel about ourselves in relationship to others, that being status, whether we'd like to have certain types of material belongings around us, whether we have certain types of behaviour, or whether we really, are linked to the earth in some way, shape or form. Everything we do keeps us here. But the interesting thing is that actually karma is a very good tool that the ego can use. And so when we think about karma in terms of it being a tool that the ego can use to keep us here, then we start to understand why karma is particularly difficult to shift sometimes. Specifically if we are in a frame of mind where we're not particularly recognising that we are in fact creating karma or having karma. The ego has a limited lifetime. It is only in existence whilst the physical body is in existence. And it's also only in existence whilst we, as a thinking, sentient being, allow it to exist. when we start to work with higher frequency thoughts, behaviours and actions, then we start to move into a different realm. We start to want to be of service to people. We start to want to work with people in a better way. We start to understand why people do things or say things, if not straight away, pretty much not so much instantly, but we start to work it out very, very, very quickly, and then it becomes instant as we start to work with people. So we start to get to the point where we can forgive somebody inequivocally, instantaneously, because we understand that they are the same as us. They're an entity who is experiencing a level of incarnation, who is experiencing existence here, and the whole point of his existence here is to experience, learn, and evolve. And the thing is that if we can forgive people because they're experiencing what we're experiencing, but they're in their own way, and they're having to learn as well, then we don't get linked in with them karmically. And so when we start to work in this way, our ego starts to disappear very, very quickly. It's hang on a minute. So we have to work in a way which is consistent with allowing ourselves to really allow karma to not be accrued. So karma is, without doubt, a tool that the ego can use to keep us here. But more importantly, it's also a function of us being here that we have to avoid. Now, when we look at the different genres of karma, whether it's status, behaviour, action, materialism-based karma, all these different things, it's difficult for us to work with them all consistently at the same time. We have to think of it in terms of what can I do at the moment to avoid a certain level of karma. We can't deal with everything at once. We have to start to chisel away at it slowly and slowly, in slow bite-sized chunks. And so when we can understand that certain actions or certain behaviour processes or certain thoughts start to link us with the earth, and we can think to ourselves, actually, that thought process is not a good thought process, because it's more of a link to the earth rather than link to what I truly am, which is a sentient being with a body of energy. Then we can start to remove this link with the earth-based thought processes, and we start to gain higher functionality, and we start to be able to access higher levels of functionality and gain experience of and on a regular basis of the greater reality. So karma is really, in all its different ways, a link to the physical aspect of the multiverse. It is linked to us as a physical form, and it is linked to us as a physical form not only in the human sense, but in all other vehicles that are across the physical universe. Now, Lily's just asked a question: can karma be transferred through DNA onto us from our biological parents, or our children, or people we are connected with to marriage or close relationships, even if it's not ours? It's not. Karma doesn't come through DNA. Karma comes through if we have a need to come back on Earth, if we have a need to incarnate because we need to overcome some aspect of karma, some aspect of existing in the physical that we need to overcome, and we need to do another life to do it, then we come back. However, if we have let's say, an entity that we've been working with on a number of incarnations, and they are stuck in karma, they are stuck with a certain karmic loop, or they can't get beyond a certain experience without feeling angry or feeling remorse or getting wrapped up in it, or they can't respond or act in a different way, then we can choose, provided we understand that karma and how to dissipate it, we can choose to take that karma on board for somebody else, not as a DNA thing, but as an agreement within the energetic, to help to be of service to them so they can move on and they can progress in their own evolutionary condition, and also we progress as well because we've helped them out in some way by being of service. Now the trick is here is that we need to recognise at some point what this karma is that we've taken on board for somebody else, and we need to be able to dissipate it by experiencing the events or the communication with others or the desires that created that karma for that person and not be affected by it. Does that help, Leila?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. I know that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I know that there are certain. There's a number of people I've been speaking to who have, shall I say, supposedly picked up karma from their mother or their father, and it's been thought of as being passed on, passed down, but actually there is no such thing as passing down as such, because we're not, in the energetic, we're not really related to our mother or our father or our grandparents, because they are only our mother or our father or our grandparents whilst we're here as incarnate beings. And so outside of that, there is no link with them at all in that respect, unless we decide to help an entity out that we've been working with so that they can move onwards by us dissipating that karma. Now, yeah, sure.
There is that quote about the sins of the father being passed down for 7 generations. But I always thought of that more as behavioral, like kind of patterning as opposed to karma. So that if you're in a family situation that has certain patterns, it does seem to take a few generations to change those patterns.
In some instances, we do incarnate within a family environment that provides a consistent type of, shall I say, karmic link. And it may well be that a family has chosen, or the entities that are incarnating in a family have chosen over a number of generations, for instance, to collectively work on some form of karma for one of them, or for one of them, or all of them, so to speak. So they may well choose to experience the same karmic force, as it were, from the start of the link with that particular family, from let's say the grandfather, all the way down from the father to the son, and then the grandson and the great grandson, for instance, because they're trying to experience it and consistently see it. And you get to a point where usually there's 3 generations involved where they're all experiencing the same thing, because you've got the father, or you've got the grandfather, the father, and the son, for instance, using the male line as an example. And it could well be that it's planned that the son has to experience the same type of karmic attraction or behaviour process or actions or desires from the point of view of seeing his grandfather going through that cycle, and seeing his father going through that cycle before he can, shall I say, dissipate it himself. In some instances, and I've just been told this, by the way, in some instances, if a person or an entity has a particular problem or is struggling with dissipating a certain piece of karma, it can be planned that this example can be shown to them via this family link, so that the son, who is really trying to shift the karma, sees the grandfather and the father experiencing the same thing they're experiencing, but it gives him a bit of a heads up as to what's happening. It gives him an outsider's viewpoint on what karma is affecting his grandfather, and or what actions or what loop behavioural pattern is being experienced at those two levels, so that when it gets to him, it's like a wake up. It's like an alarm call. It's like saying, okay, I don't want to respond in this way myself. And therefore we're going to move away from it, and therefore that particular karmic link is broken for that person. But the other two people are displaying it because they're trying to help that person remove their karma by showing them by showing the son what the karmic link is by experiencing it themselves. So it's a little bit like having a prequel or a preview of a film. You keep seeing the preview of the film from somebody else's perspective, and eventually, if you've been struggling yourself to clear that karma, you'll see this preview often enough to think, hang on, I respond in that way as well, and then you stop responding in that way, and you've cleared the karmic link. And at the same time, there's no longer any need for the grandfather and the father to keep displaying that, because their job's been done. They've been of service. They've experienced it on behalf of the son, so that the son can progress. Okay, does that help, John? It's a bit convoluted.
Yes, thank you.
It's a bit convoluted, but so there we go. Right, Marnie's asked a question. She said, it sounds like you are suggesting to help others transmute their karma, telling their story, helping them to voice it, can help them transmute the negative energy to a beneficial outlet for that energy. And telling that story of one's pain can resonate with multiple others in that karmic loop. Yes, correct. My comment is in response to something you were saying just before this last question. You mentioned to alleviate karma of another, one must see the reason it was incurred, but without the emotional link. Yes, that's right. I'll repeat that comment. Marnie was saying that my comment is in response to something you were saying just before this last question. You mentioned that to alleviate karma of another one, or somebody else, that other person must see the reason it was incurred, but without the emotional link. That's right. It's the emotional link that keeps us in the karmic loop generally, because we associate with it in a subconscious way. It stops us from moving on. That's a very good question. Thank you for that. I'm just going to tell you one more thing before we move on to the questions, but the other sense, because there's some very good questions here, and that is in the Hindu worlds, the guru when he took on board, or when he or she takes on board a student, they actively take a percentage of the student's karma. And the reason why they do that is because they themselves do not have a problem with karma. They are able to dissipate karma because they understand the rules of karma. They understand how not to accrue karma. And so basically they take on board a percentage, like 25%, 50%, whatever it is. Yeah, that's it, Chris. Not usually 50%, but they take on enough karma to allow the student to operate on a higher frequency level. So that student gets a kickstart, so to speak, and then starts to be able to experience higher levels of functionality associated with being a higher frequency. So they get access to the greater reality without having to do the work themselves. And this allows them to move onwards and upwards faster than they would do if they had to dissipate their own karma. And this is only possible with a master. If a guru is a master, they can take somebody's karma and they can dissipate it because they understand how not to get affected by it. And so the moment they don't get affected by that piece of karma that would affect the students, then that karma is dissipated, it's gone. So Lily just asked, how would one dissipate an emotional link for good? You know when you've dissipated it because you don't get affected by it. It's as simple as that. If somebody annoys you at work, for instance, or they're your enemy, and every time you see them or you'll talk to them or you have to liaise with them, you get like a knot in your stomach, or you're not able to articulate yourself properly, that's the emotional link between the piece of karma between you and that person. However, if you work with it and you understand it, and you start to realise that actually these individuals are just the same as you, they're on a different level, but that doesn't matter, and you start to forgive them and forget the things that they do that wind you up, for instance. When you notice that you've achieved the breaking of the karma, or dissipated the karma, you'll find that you no longer get affected. You no longer get this fear of dread. You no longer get this knot in the stomach. You no longer feel angry at this person. You no longer feel fear of this person. You no longer feel that they're your enemy, and you accept them for being just another person, the same as you, who's incarnating to experience, learn, and evolve. And it's really good when it happens, because all of a sudden you'll be able to talk to somebody that you've previously had problems with, and you're able to talk properly, articulate yourself properly. You don't get wound up, you don't get flustered, you don't feel like you've got to justify yourself. It's really good, because when that emotional link is broken, you can operate in total confidence, and that's the way it is, Lily. When you've worked on a piece of karma, it doesn't affect you. That thing that would normally affect you would normally give you a certain behavioural pattern, like being scared or frightened, or wound up or concerned. It goes straight over your head. It doesn't matter in the slightest, and that's when you know you've broken the emotional link. And actually, that's when you know you've dissipated that piece of karma. Okay. Thank you. So, in summary, karma is anything that makes us think that we are the human being, that we exist in the human form, that everything we do is related to the human being. It's anything that keeps us human-centric, anything that is low frequency in terms of behaviours, actions, thoughts, or desires, and that's really what karma is. Now, what I want to do now is just go through these questions that Ula's got, because they are very good questions, and actually, depending upon the time, I might do half of them now and half of them next time. So we'll see where we are. Yes, if you want to, Ula, you can share them with the group by typing them into the group. You can do, yeah, so they can see the questions. Just going to do the first one first, okay? If Ula cuts and paste, or I can cut and paste them in there, so that's okay. If I can get them in there, I can do it. Let's just copy that. Cut and paste it in, and I'll talk about it as well. There we go. So there's the first one. Oh, Ula's beat me to it. Good. Okay. So the first one is question 1. People think of karma as cause and effect, or action-reaction in linear time, but they are really simultaneous events in the now moment. Yes. Now, clearly, with event space, it causes a problem, because we can be experiencing the same piece of karma in a multiple and parallel way, depending upon how the parts of us that split off, when there's a possibility of a duality condition, or a triality or a quadruality condition, where we can go 1 or 2 ways, 3 ways, 4 ways, or 5 ways. If a decision is, or the chance of a decision is presented to us, then it's quite clearly that we can experience that piece of karma in a number of different parallel ways. So one of the parts of this first question is, how does a person cancel their karma in one local environment that pertains to that person in terms of event space? In effect, the karma, is if it's worked on right, is dissipated in that event space only. In real terms, that we would have to experience it in multiple different ways. Now, the true energetic self will have, and the aspect that's projected from the true energetic self into the physical, will be experiencing this concurrently. So all of these different event spaces, the true energetic self experiences concurrently, and so does the aspect, although us as the aspect in the incarnate condition, we can't possibly experience it all at the same time. So we are spared that process. But the aspect of that part of the aspect which is part of the Trinity itself experiences it all at the same time. And so, in real terms, it understands what caused the dissipation of that karma in the particular aspect that is within a particular event space where it's dissipated it in. It still requires the other aspects of itself that are split out into different other event spaces to also experience it and work it out as well. Specifically because they're experiencing those different event spaces in a different way. So really, if there's 1,000 different event spaces created by an aspect or a soul, and one of those or two of those have managed to dissipate the karma, really it needs the rest of them to do it as well to break the karmic link. Okay. That probably answers the next part of the question, which is, can an aspect in one event space cancel out its karma in another event space, where the same aspect is playing out different scenarios with the same bunch of people? The answer is no. It needs to be done in all event spaces to clear it totally, because it's all to do with experiencing things in different ways. And sometimes the different event spaces lead us into a position where we can clear karma very quickly, and so therefore we understand that and we work with that and we experience it, and we know that our true energetic self, or our aspect from the energetic perspective, realizes that if it went down this way, it would clear the karma, but all the other aspects that are in different event spaces will be experiencing the existence in a slightly different way, and they may not dissipate it. And so it's recognised that these other routes don't dissipate their karma. Okay, so it's a huge holistic learning package all at the same time. Okay. All right. Next part is, how do we cut the ties in a subsequent incarnation which involves a different body, personality, time period, and event space setting? Basically, if we've not, there's two things with karma. One is a desire to come back and experience sensation-based karma, which is it's an addiction to incarnating, actually. So when an aspect wants to come back to incarnate because it likes the sensations of certain things, such as adrenaline rushes, such as sex, such as food, such as alcohol, such as drugs, and it likes to come back as an incarnate being to experience these things, then it hasn't, it's got
order a cheese pizza.
Or a cheese pizza, yeah. It's got to experience these things and get over these things as well, and so that's one part of the addiction. So we have to work in the next incarnation. It's almost like we presented these things again, and in the presenting them again, we've got the opportunity to resist them or get addicted and then move away from the addiction. And so therefore we can then cut that particular karmic tie in the different body, which is a different incarnation. But that again has to happen in all of those different event spaces as well. Okay. Next part of it is, can we create karma as individuals or collective beings on Orion? Then comes resolve it on Earth as individual humans playing it one-on-one. So in real terms, if we experience karma in a different part of the physical universe, can we play it out on Earth and dissipate it? The answer is yes, provided the karmic link is relative to the change in location. So if the same environmental setup can be given that creates the same karmic influences on Earth as it was experienced somewhere else, for instance, in the physical universe, then it can be dissipated on Earth as against in a different place. Also, if whatever we experience on Earth, we can potentially dissipate on a different planet. Christian just asked a question. Does that mean we have to be on the same frequency? Usually, if we are working out our karma, we are rising up the frequencies, we're ascending up the frequencies. And so, from that perspective, it's usually the same frequency. Okay? It's usually the same frequency, but with the opportunity of moving up the frequencies as a result of our, shall I say, ability to dissipate that particular piece of karma. Okay. Now, what's the next part of this question? Please help us understand how minor evolution really works, looking at it from the helicopter view. Minor evolution. Minor evolution is what we do on a daily basis. If we dissipate a piece of karma, for instance, or we learn a lesson and we learn that lesson first time, or even second time, and we therefore don't need to experience that the environment or the things that are happening within that environment that create that particular piece of karma that we need to experience, then we've evolved. Yeah? Anything where we have moved on, we've learnt our lesson, and therefore we don't need to experience it again. Or if we do experience it, we can operate in the correct way. We can answer. It's a bit like having a mathematics exam. If we get a question in maths and we've made a mistake 3 or 4 times, and then later we understand that question and we answer the question right, then we've understood the question and we've understood the mathematics surrounding the question, and we're able to answer the question right, and we don't get it wrong anymore. And in that instance, we've experienced failure a couple of times, for instance. We've learned from that failure and we've got it right. And subsequently we evolve because we've experienced and learnt. It's the combination of experiencing and learning that creates the minor evolution. So minor evolution is what we're doing on a daily basis. Lily's just asked another question. Is there karma rehab, perhaps, to dissipate addictions to the incarnate? Is there karma rehabilitation in the energetic? The answer is, when we are addicted to drugs, for instance, those drugs affect the soul, the aspect, energetically, in a detrimental way. And so those individuals who demise, or physical body demises, or they ascend early through the taking of drugs, or even alcoholic conditions, have to go through a certain level of rehabilitation, because that addiction is karma. It's addiction to the physical. It's a function of sensation-based karma. Karma being attraction to anything that's low frequency while we're incarnate, and so they can undergo a level of rehabilitation where they're the energetic damage that's done to them is resolved, is balanced out. Okay, so the energetic damage that's done to them by taking drugs or alcoholic overdose or anything like that is balanced out by other aspects from other true energetic cells who specialise in removing the energies associated with a death in a certain way. So the answer is yes, there is a certain level of rehabilitation there. Okay. Marnie's just said, would you say it's answering the question of a life lesson in a more balanced way rather than right or wrong? Yeah, there's no right or wrong, it's just experience. So my way of saying a failure is basically just to give an example. Clearly all experience is experience. It's just our own perception of what that experience is that classifies it as being good or bad, right or wrong, desirable or not, as the case may be. Okay. So greater reality seems to have no right or wrong at all, correct. All are worthy. That's right, we all experience things. And so really, in terms of us moving forwards, the only correct way is to be here without being affected by being here. And that's this that's the reason for us to be here, is to master being here. We can be in the physical but not be of the physical. We can be in the physical and not accrue karma, not be addicted to it. We can experience whatever we want to experience, but we can give it up tomorrow or leave it alone tomorrow. Yeah, okay. Right, there's just another question. Are there any lords of karma, or is that our true energetic self? Our true energetic self gets held back slightly in terms of its evolutionary path by those aspects that it projects into the physical getting stuck in the physical sensation-based karmic loops or other karmic loops. It's a little bit like having an anchor on a boat, a sea anchor on a boat, where the boat can't rise any further above the surface of the water because the sea anchor holds it back and holds it down. As soon as that karmic addictions or actions or behaviour processes or thoughts have been dissipated, that sea anchor is no longer there, and that boat can rise above the surface of the sea and start to go fly into higher frequencies, as an example. Okay, let's have a look at this next part of the question. 2. Our true energetic self is kept in stasis in the multiverse while its aspects are sorting out their karma in the physical universe. That's right. Something called evolutionary stasis, this is. Basically what happens is when we come into incarnating in the physical, we put our evolution on hold until we can until our aspects overcome the need to be here. They work out and finish their karma, and they can incarnate without accruing karma. Or another way of saying it is they move beyond the need to incarnate, because once they've worked out the karma, there's no longer a need to be here. And what happens is that the normal evolutionary progression that a true energetic self would normally have, whilst in the energetic, is put on hold. And so when we finish the work with the physical, because we've experienced is profoundly harder to experience in the physical than it would be in the energetic, we have something akin to an evolutionary catapult. And so when all of the aspects of the true energetic self return to the true energetic self, having mastered incarnation and dissipated all of their karma, they no longer need to worry about incarnating here, and then the evolutionary content associated with that is given to the true energetic self, and it is placed in the position it would have been had it been accruing it all along the way. And so the distance, or the evolutionary progression of that true energetic self surpasses where it would have been had it just been working with the energetic. So it actually catapults it further on. So looking at the points of this question, does the true energetic self send out a bunch of aspects, i.e. allow them to create karma and then wait for them to resolve their karma so it can ascend the multiverse like an inchworm? The answer to that is yes. It's as I described. It waits until they've all finished and then it gets catapulted beyond where it would have ascended to in its own evolutionary path had it just used the energetic, rather the purely energetic aspect of the multiverse to work with, rather than experiencing the profoundly low frequency, more profoundly the lowest frequencies within the multiverse by incarnation. The second part, does the true energetic self then start all over again with another batch of aspects and repeat the whole cycle to inch up a little more? Is this how major evolution really works? Basically, once the aspects that the true energetic self projects into the physical and other parts of the multiverse have moved beyond the need to incarnate, i.e. they've mastered karma, they can incarnate but not accrue karma, there is no need for that true energetic self to put any other aspects into the physical. It can then evolve up the structure of the multiverse purely from the energetic side, but it will do it faster because it's got experience of the lowest part of the multiverse, and the levels of experience it will have had will have been profound because of the way it has been achieved, and that level of profundity is through the use of the incarnate process. Okay. I think very quickly we can probably go through these last two questions very quickly. So Marnie's just asked, so how do we find out where we are as individuals in the pathway of our true energetic self? And resolving our karma. In other words, am I slowing down the evolution of my greater self? Yes, you are. When we are incarnate, every time we accrue karma, we are slowing down the evolution of our true energetic self. However, when we eventually move beyond it, we allow our true energetic selves to catapult beyond that level of evolutionary growth that it would have achieved had it been achieving evolution purely in the energetic. So although we hold it back initially, we actually create like what's called evolutionary tension. It's like we have a bungee rope where we're staying where we are, but our potential evolutionary level keeps going forwards, even though we don't evolve as such. And then suddenly, when all the aspects have cleared the karma, and therefore no longer need to incarnate, that bungee rope is let go, and the true energetic self is catapulted up to a different level, which will be beyond where the position it would have been had it simply used the energetic to evolve within. So let's get this third question going. Does our true energetic self remove itself all at once from the physical universe, or gradually pull itself out from the lower frequency levels? Well, the true energetic self, it doesn't actually come into the physical, it's the aspect it projects into it that does that. And it has to come out in a gradual way. And actually, that's part of some of the information that's coming out of the book I'm writing right now, which is called The End Dialogues. I'm understanding more detail about how the energies get inserted into the human form and how they're removed. But basically, it has to remove itself. The energies have to be removed from the integration within the human form slowly through the Hara line, which is like a little tube, I'm told, little energetic tube that protects the energies associated with the aspect as they're projected down from the true energetic self into the human form. So that's not specifically to do with karma. Okay. Why would it still? Okay. So the first part of this question is, why would it still want to incarnate at higher frequency levels in the physical universe, where it is less likely to incur karma? When we incarnate, we don't specifically want to experience just one part of the multiverse or one part of the frequencies associated with the physical universe. We want to experience all of it. Because if we don't experience all of it, we're not experiencing everything we can do. So even though it's easier to overcome karma in the higher frequencies because we have a higher levels of functionality, because we're higher frequency, we understand that the greater reality, we can communicate with our true energetic self when we're within the higher frequencies of the physical universe as an incarnate being. We still have to experience those, because otherwise we would finish incarnating but not experience the whole picture. It's a little bit like not eating all the food on your plate and then saying that the peas that you hadn't eaten were tasty. You're basing it upon an assumption rather than actual experience. So we need to eat all of the food on the plate before we can comment upon how tasty those individual items of food were. Okay. Next part of it is it just for more experience that helps it evolve or inch upwards in the multiverse? So I'll have to read that again and re-say it. Is it just for more experience that it helps it evolve or inch upwards in the multiverse? Basically, we experience as much as we can do, and as we experience as much as we can do, we learn lessons, and in experiencing and learning lessons, we evolve, and it allows us to move up the multiverse. Sometimes we go slowly, sometimes we catapult up. just depends on what we're experiencing and how it just depends on what we're experiencing and how we experience it as to how fast we move at the multiverse. Okay, so we do need to experience everything as much as we can do. Okay, and so whenever the aspects of remove the need to incarnate, then the true self can move with the multiverse quite quickly then. Right, the fourth and last one. We understand that a master is somebody who has mastered karma whilst on earth and moved out of the need to incarnate. For example, we call Yogananda, this is Paramahansa Yogananda, a master of love, and his teacher Sri Yukteswar, a master of wisdom. Okay, yeah. So, first question, what is Lahiri Mahashai a master of? A master of yoga? Doesn't sound to seem right. Okay. Lahiri Mahashai was somebody who was illumined, basically. He was reawakened to his true self by Babaji. He had his connectivity re-established by Babaji, so he could communicate with his higher self, and he could communicate with the rest of the greater reality and manipulate that greater reality as well. And so basically he was an illumined master. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't say he was an ascended master, but he was an illumined master. There's only a number of ascended masters that we can recognise as ascended masters, but he was certainly, and Babaji is one of them, but he was certainly somebody who was illumined and was able to work with the greater reality in a profoundly understanding way. Okay. So the next question is Maha Avatar Babaji a master of all three forces, love, wisdom and power? Is Babaji a non-being within our multiverse or something else? Yes, he has mastered those three. Is he an on-being? Is he one of the on? No, but he's an extremely highly evolved individual who was, as an individualized unit of sentience that was created by our source entity. What I've just picked up here, he as an entity, his true energetic self resides within the 12th full dimension. So he's a very highly evolved individual, and of course he's an ascended master in his own right. Okay. Third one, do masters have to master all three forces eventually, or do they specialise in mastering just one force before joining the source level? They have to master all forces evenly. It is difficult to master one and then master the others. They have to be done in balance with each other. Think of it in terms of keeping a set of three-way scales where you're having to keep the amount of produce you're putting in each of these scales, or the weights in these scales, equal so that each of the different parts of the scale are in balance. It has to be done in balance, because otherwise it can corrupt. Any one of those individually can corrupt on their own. Okay, so they have to be done in a balanced way. And the final question, we are all masters already, and at some other distant event point, even if we're not masters yet in this particular event point, yeah, absolutely. If we take event space to its ultimate conclusion, then we have already achieved mastery of everything we've ever done. We've already got to the 12th full dimension, and we have already, shall I say, recommuned with our source entity. It's a function of event space that we can potentially see everything, every past, present and future moment concurrently. And if we were clever enough to select the right event space, we would see ourselves achieving mastery, and we would see ourselves eventually becoming a source entity in our own right as well. Okay. And Chris has just asked. Okay. Chris has just asked a question. He's down in the 12th dimension. When I meet her, she's right at the top of that actually. In fact, I tend to meet Anne outside of the structure of the multiverse. and there's a reason for that. Okay, I think there's some really good questions here, Pete. Thank everybody, and thank you for asking those questions as we're on the fly as well. It's really good. It's excellent to be able to be in a position where I can answer those questions. Okay, so I think we're in a position now where we can have the end of meeting meditation, and I want to take us to a point where we can experience oneness with the source again, if that's okay with everybody. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use because not everybody's got their level 3, although quite a few people have, looking at the list of people here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to close our eyes, okay, and with our feet flat on the ground, our back straight, our palms uppermost on our thighs, eyes closed but focused on the point of origin of the third eye, which is in between the 2 eyebrows and above the bridge of the nose. And as with all these meditations when we're working together, I want us to imagine that we're in a white corridor, and this white corridor has a wall left and right, and clearly a roof and a ceiling and the floor, but there's no doors on these walls apart from right at the end of this corridor we can see another door. So let's walk down, or you can use the mentally spoken word to achieve the same thing. Let's walk down to this door, which is about 50 meters. Okay, it's about 150 feet down this corridor. And when we get to the corridor, at the end of the corridor, where this door is, we open the door, we can walk inside, we can close the door behind us. And inside this room, it's a white room, and there's 3 chairs there. Okay? And I'm sitting in the middle chair. And you can sit either in the left-hand chair or the right-hand chair. Okay? And you can hold my left hand with your right hand, or my right hand with your left hand. Whichever you want to do is up to you. Don't worry about other people here. Everybody has enough room. We all overlay on each other. So it doesn't matter whether you're all on the right hand chair, or you're all on the left hand chair, or you're all balanced. It doesn't matter. And so in this room, I want you to now visualize, or use the mentally spoken words, that we're in a circle. And from where you are, with your right hand holding my left hand, or your left hand holding my right hand, you start to see everybody else holding your hand as well. So you see all the other members of the group in the circle around us. Okay. So in this group, there's RJ, Ula, Adriana, Yvonne, Mo, Jeremy, Matchas, Lily, Chris and Marnie. I think we've lost John. Doesn't matter. John will join us. And so you imagine that all of these people are holding somebody's left hand with their right hand, and somebody's right hand with their left hand. And so we have a nice round circle of people together. And so in this way we're all linked together. I want you to imagine that I've moved position now, and I've put my chair in the middle of you all. Okay? And so I am now in the middle of you all, and you're all holding hands. And now I want you to project energy from your heart chakras out towards me. And I will project energy back to all of you as well. So we appear to be like a wheel, where you're all in a circle around me, and I'm the hub, and the energy that's projected from your heart chakras into me, and my energy projected from me to you, is like the spokes of this wheel. And so now we're all connecting together in a completely synergetic condition. And it's like 11 times 11 people all working together. And so what I want you to understand now is that this room that we're in acts like a lift. And this room, you feel, rises. It moves up from the zero level, the earth level. We're all grounded through me, we're all working together, we're all linked together. We are 11 times 11 people. It's 121 people. Okay. And our room rises like a lift up through the frequencies, starting from 0 to 1 to 2, accelerating to 5, and then 10, accelerating again to 20, to 40, to 60, to 80, to 100, and accelerating again to 150, to 200, to 250, to 300, to 350, and starts to slow down to 360, 370, 380, 390, 400. It slows down even more at 405, 406, 407, and finally coming to a standstill at 408. And our room, our lift, is positioned through my intention at the absolute centre of the universal environment or multiversal environment represented by this 408th frequency. This 397th simultaneous universe. But our lift now moves really close to the edge of the energies associated with this particular level. As we look up, we see our room go from having white opaque walls and ceiling and floor to being completely transparent. So we appear to be hanging in space on our chairs, joined together by the energies from our heart chakras. And so we can move ourselves. We move ourselves up towards the inside edge of the energies associated with this last frequency, this last simultaneous universe associated with the multiversal structure created by our source entity. And so in our chairs, in our wheel configuration, with the energies from our heart chakras creating the spokes that link us all together through me in the centre, we move up towards this inside edge of this energy, and we move very slowly through that energetic barrier, moving through from one side to the outside. So it appears that all of a sudden our chairs appear to be sitting on the outside of the multiversal structure. The multiverse appearing to be a sphere below us, a sphere of structure that we can see. We can see all of the 4 dimensions, we can see all of the subdimensional components, we can see all of the frequencies, and all the universal environments supported by those different frequencies beneath us. So whilst we're sitting on top of the outside layer of this multiversal environment, we can see everything below us. And so here we ask the source to commune with us, become one with us. And then from some distant part of the vastness of energy that's outside of the multiversal structure, that is actually within the energies that create, that are or have been used to create the source entity. A vortex of energy appears and starts to grow and get closer and closer to us. This vortex of energy, this tube of energy, is white and golden and silver, iridescent, pearlescent, irradiating, pulsating and rotating, getting closer and closer to us, getting larger and larger to us. As it gets closer and closer and larger, it starts to surround us, and we become one with it, inside of it. This vortex of energy is the connection from the source to us as its individualized units of sentience, currently just outside that perimeter, that 408 frequency level that creates the multiverse. We are just outside of the multiverse. You are here because of the synergetic ability to move this far up with my direction and intention, and your abilities to be there as well. And so this energy permeates through us. It becomes one with us. This energy is not energy outside us, but it's energy within and without us. It is within the gaps in between the cellular structure of our physical form and the energetic structure of the rest of our human vehicle. It pervades the gaps in between the atomic structure, the gaps in between the components of the atomic structure, the protons, the neutrons, and the electrons. And it goes even deeper. It fills in the gaps in between the voids, between the quarks and the strangeness and the charm. And it fills the gaps and the voids in the next 4 levels of physical structure below the quarks. And so there is no separation, there is only this energy, and we are one with this energy which is the source. We are no longer individualized, we are one with the source, and the source is one with us. We are just source. And so we can stay here for a moment and just absorb this energy. Just be one with this energy. Just commune with the source whilst at this level of communion, where there is no separation between you and source, or source and you. There is only this energy, there is only this one level of sentience, which is source. In this level of communion we can, should we ask, understand anything about everything. We can understand where we are within our evolutionary cycle. We can understand how many aspects our true energetic self has projected into the physical. We can understand the level of karma that we've accrued whilst here, or the level of karma that we've dissipated. Or we can commune with the source and ask it to give us knowledge that is relevant to every other aspect that it has created. Every other true energetic self that it has created. Although the true energetic self creates the aspects and the aspect creates the shards, we are essentially source. So we can commune with the source in any way we wish, or we can simply be in the energy that is source. Be one with this energy, bask with this energy, feel that you are the energy. Feel that you are the sentience that is the source. Notice how expanded you feel in this condition, where you are one with the source, whilst we're all working in synergy together. And so it's time to come back to the earth, so we regrettably let the source depart from us. We ask for its energies to separate out from us, and so the energies, the subatomic levels start to move away from those voids, moves away from the 4 levels below the quarks and the strangeness and the charm, moves out and away from the voids in between the electrons and the protons and the neutrons, moves away from the voids within the atoms above that, moves away from the voids within the cells, and then departs, moving out, leaving us separate in our configuration, in our synergetic configuration, in our wheel configuration, with the energies going from our heart chakras through me to everybody else's heart chakra, leaving us in a synergetic condition, just sitting in our chairs on top of the outside edge of the 408 frequency band. And we see this funnel, this tornado of energy, this vortex of energy that was the way that the source communed with us, joined energy with us, move further and further away from us, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Until it finally disappears in the distance. With it gone, I then bring us down below the surface of the 408th frequency level. So we drop back down, moving back into the universal environment supported by the 408th frequency level, the 397th simultaneous universe. And so therefore we become internal to the structure of the multiverse now. We don't need to move back to the centre to move down the frequencies. We can stay where we are. But before we do, the walls and the floor and the ceiling of our room start to become white and opaque again. So we find ourselves back within our room. And I use this room as a lift to bring us back down to the earth level, the zero level. And so the room descends the frequencies down below 408 to 407 to 406 and accelerates to 404, 402 to 400, gets faster. That's 390, 380, it's faster at 360, 340, 320 and then 300, then gains more acceleration, dropping down to 250, 200, 150, 100 and then 50, and starts to slow down very quickly to 40 and 30 and 20, slowing down even more at 10 and then slowing down even faster up to 5 and then 4 and then 3 and then 2 and 1, finally coming to a standstill on the earth level, the zero level at 0. And whilst our room is now firmly within the frequencies associated with the gross physical aspect of the earth, I now move back into this middle seat, therefore breaking the link between the energies of the chakras, and so you can contract your energies back into your heart chakras, putting us down to being 11 people simply holding each other's hand, where we've got somebody's left hand in our right hand and somebody's right hand in our left hand. And then just imagine that people are leaving all around us. So there's just you on the right hand side of me or the left hand side of me. So you're either holding my left hand with your right hand or my right hand with your left hand. And as you imagine others are getting up and going out of the room, so you do as well. You stand up from your chair, move towards the door, and open the door and close it behind you. Walk back up the corridor where there's just the two white walls and the white ceiling and the white floor. It's 150 feet or 50 meters until you get to the end, and then slowly you can then bring yourself back into the room that you're in whatever part of the world that you're in, having experienced synergetic meditative state and communion with the source just outside the perimeter of the frequencies associated with the multiverse. So very slowly come back into the room, and if you've got some water, drink your water. It'll help to ground you. Okay. I'll just check up on how you are. Okay. How are you, Chris? Are you feeling okay? Okay. Chris hasn't come back yet. Matthias, you feel okay?
Yes,
Good.
it's okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yvonne, you feeling okay? Okay. Okay, good. Energetically, I feel she's okay. Ulla, you feel okay? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Well, taking a bit of time to come down. Okay. Marnie, you feel okay?
Yes, wonderful. Thank you very
Good.
much.
Good. Thank you. Lily,
Feeling awesome, thank you.
thank you. Mo and Jeremy, how are you?
Yeah, feeling wonderful.
Good, thank you.
Good. Good. Adriana, how are you?
Fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. We will be fine.
Takes a bit of time to come down, doesn't it? And RJ, how are you feeling okay?
So fantastic.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. It was an excellent meet-up, and I think we've gone over our mark by 25 minutes, but that doesn't matter. We've all enjoyed ourselves. Thank you very much for dialing in. Thank you for being part of this, and my love to you all. The next one will be on the 16th of August. That's a Saturday. And I'm going to send you the recordings fairly quickly for this, so you can practice in your own time if you want to, meditation, or you can go over some of the information or some of the questions to do with karma. Thank Ulla for the questions that she gave prior to the meeting, and thank you all for asking questions throughout as well. So thank you for all turning up, and I look forward to seeing you again or hearing you again in August. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. Good night.
Thank you guys
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Love
Namaste,
and
everyone.
peace.
Love. Okay.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Love to you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Did you see the aliens in Crete?